Hi everyone, my name is Akbar, also known as Dave, and I'm going to be teaching you Ielts series in these webinars. So before moving to the actual webinar, let me just tell me about myself briefly. So actually I've lived for 10 years in London in the United Kingdom, and I've been teaching Ielts in this study center in PROFI education for 3 years, and I will be guiding you in this webinar how to how to do the whole entire writing series, speaking series, reading and listening. I will show you all the tips and guides and everything necessary for you to study Ielts, to improve your Ielts skills is going to be in this webinar. Okay? Throughout the series, I'm going to teach you in detail, and everything will start with the beginning with fundamental knowledge. So if you're ready to study Ielts with us, let's get started. So in this first webinar, I will be teaching you how to write task 1 line graph. So let's begin. So this is also an introduction level, so I have to tell you in this level it's suitable for those students who doesn't have much of knowledge about Ielts. So I'll be introducing you how to do the task about line graph, how to write it, how to make it correctly, and I will be asking certain questions to make it more interactive. Alright guys, so let's start to the outline first. So if you can see in this outline, there are 5 things that I will be teaching you in this webinar. First thing is understanding the question. Second is structure. And third is writing introduction. So I'll be teaching you in more detail. And also we will be focusing on how to write overview. And then finally, I'll give some details about writing body parts, including grammar and essential vocabulary series. All right, now first, let's start with understanding the question. So first of all, you need to understand the overall question, how it looks like. This is how actual line graph question in task 1 looks like. It means when you receive your question booklet in the exam, the question will be similar to this. And this is not only for line graph, it would be similar to bar charts, maps and process, or any other types of the writing task 1. But don't worry, in this webinar, you're only going to be learn line graph, but next following seminars or webinars, you are able to learn more detailed other types of task 1 question as well. First, let's start how to frame and understand the entire question, how it looks like. So first part is the rubric. So what's rubric? The rubric is, if you can see, it's highlighted. It is instruction and general description of the entire question. As you can see, the graph below shows the number of inquiries received by the Tourist Information Office in one center over a 6-month period in 2011. Well, that is instruction, not instruction, but a descriptive part of the essay question. And next part is an instruction. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparison where relevant. What does it mean? It means you can't write all of it straight one by one, and you don't have to write too much detail. You have to select and report only the main features. And then if you need, or if it's necessary, you can make a comparison where it is relevant. Now let's move to the next part. This part is how the entire question look like. So you must understand first of all what all these figures and graphs and illustration means. And if you don't understand, I advise you to learn it more in detail, because if you have difficulties understanding numerical and charts and this kind of illustration, you will have pretty much difficulties to understanding the question in writing task 1. So let's break it into more detail. So the y-axis means it could be information given in numbers, sometimes it could be percentages, and sometimes it could be written forms of categories. But usually you can expect numbers or percentages. And x-axis is, on the other hand, usually shows the numbers, the months, and datas. And what is datas? Datas means sometimes it could be categories such as, let's say it's a fast food restaurant, the types of restaurant would be shown as an x-axis. Or maybe if it's free activities that is done by people in their free time, it could be wide variety of forms of different activities. So it could be categories. But usually you can expect the dates like years or monthly periods. Now let's move to the next part. So this part is usually gives the more descriptive information, more detailed information what the illustration shows. For example, the line with the blue square means in-person inquiries, and red square and triangle in a yellow color represents letter or email inquiries and telephone inquiries. So this gives you more understanding what each trend represents. And then the next final part is the actual trends. This is called trends and trajectory. So why we need to know this, understand this? Because it shows us the movement, the way of change has taken place. By looking at these lines, we are able to understand how the trends actually change over the period. Okay, and that's how entire writing structure and task 1 and line graph looks like. But now let's do a bit of interactive activities. So in this activity, I will be asking you a couple of questions and to test whether you understand all the graph or not. So I'll be asking you a couple of questions and you can try to guess answer on your own, and after that I'll present you with answers. So let's start. The figures are given in percentage. Is this true or false? So I'll give you a certain amount of time for you to think and look and then think about the answer, and finally I'll show you the right answers. So the answer is false. Let's move to the next question. Number of inquiries received in person was the highest at the end of the period. Is this true or false? Let's try this one. That's true. Next question. At the beginning of the period, number of telephone inquiries were the most popular, but coming to the end of the period, it became the least used. Is this true or false? That's false. Next question. At the beginning of the period, in-person inquiries were the lowest, but surprisingly, it became the most popular at the end of the period. Is this true or false? That's true. The letter inquiries remained the lowest in the entire period. Is this true or false? That's false. So this is generally how the understanding question is all about. So I hope you understand how to interpret the data and understand the entire question looks like. But now let's move to next part, which is the structure. So the body structure, how we should write the entire essay, I mean how you should organize your essay, is shown in the illustration. So this is typical model of writing and organize your entire essay. This is actually taken from Band 9 written essay for writing line graph task question. And if you can see, there is a clear separation on each paragraph. Why you need this separation? First reason is because it helps to easily differentiate for examiner which part is which. Secondly, it always looks neat and tidy, and it shows how clearly you have demonstrated your ideas. And finally, by reading the main paragraph, it's possible for you to show your examiner the main critical points by separating it into paragraph. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of detailed explanation what is each paragraph means. So the first paragraph is, as it's shown, is the body. Sorry, not the body, but introduction. And next part is an overview. So overview, I will go through detailed way explanation later on, but this is how you should write after introduction. And then comes body part 1, and then comes body part 2. So this is how you should organize your entire task 1 essay. I mean, not only line graph, it could be applicable to any other graphs as well, depending on the types of question. Now, let's move on to next important part is writing an introduction. So, writing introduction. There are 2 critical steps that you need to follow to write introduction. First is paraphrasing the rubric, and then add missing information. So I'm going to demonstrate it in more detailed way. So let's come back to the actual given question, which I've shown you in earlier. So as you may guess, you may mistakenly forgotten what is rubrics. First, you need to find what's rubric, and that is a rubric, and the writing introduction is everything to do with rubric. It's very simple. You just need to paraphrase this rubric session and then add extra information. Now, let's have a look at how it could be done. So the sample written below is actually one way of writing introduction. There are many other types, there are many other ways of writing possible to this, but for teaching purpose, I've given this sample. So let's look how to paraphrase. To paraphrase, the best ideal is you need to change word by word if it's necessary. And you may wonder, why do we need to write introduction? Why we need to paraphrase all this? The thing is, if you don't paraphrase, rather copy entire introduction, examiner will not going to count your introduction as a word count because you just copied, it's not original work. That is why make sure you copy this, and I mean you do not copy this obviously, and paraphrase it coherently. So let's start with the first word, the graph. As you can see, the graph word is changed into line graph. Usually you don't have to change that because sometimes you'll be given the line graph, the name of the graph itself, and you can't really find a synonym for line graph, so you can just change it a little bit if it's necessary, but usually you don't have to change this word. But in this example, we have changed it into the line graph to make it more specific. Now, next word is below. So the word below is not, it's essential for you to know that you should never ever have to include the word below in your introduction part. Why? The answer is very simple. First of all, it's logical to write the word below in rubric because like the illustration obviously displayed below the rubric. And secondly, it makes no sense if you write below in your introduction because you won't be displaying any images or any illustration once you've written your essay, right? So make sure you avoid this and you don't have to write it at all. Next word. So next word is the shows. So shows is, there are many types of synonyms for that. And one of them is illustrates. So illustrate is one synonym, but there are many other ways to write the word illustrations. Now let's move to the next one. So the number of inquiries. This word is changed into the amount of applications. So the word number changed into the amount, and inquiries are changed into applications. Next word is received. So the word received is changed into accepted. So that's logical. Next word. So by the Tourist Information Office. So this word is, as you can notice here, it has not been changed many words. The words are the same. The only difference is the structure. The grammar structure has changed. If you look at this, by the tourist, the word the tourist is an adjective here. But in our given example, there's no adjective used as a tourist. So instead, the tourist word is put in the backwards or after the word office for. So by the information office for tourists, but still makes the same. Next, in 1 year, so the possibility why you may ask why you need to, I don't have to change the word city or in. So obvious reason maybe the word city are generic words. So what does it mean? Generic words usually you don't have to change this. It's still make the same. You don't have to look for synonyms for that. But what is changed here is instead of saying one, article A is used. You already know that if you don't know, just an information for you, article A or N is used only to define something as a single, or I mean it's something in one, no more than one, we use A article. Let's continue. Over a 6 months period in 2011. So this has changed dramatically. If you can see, 6 months period, it's possible to say in a half year. That's very logical, isn't it? And then period changed into duration, and year in year 2011 is also changed slightly a bit. And if you can notice, starting from the January is also added. So why we have written this? As I explained to you guys, second step is adding any missing information. In this chart, the starting from January is missing in the rubric, but it is displayed in the actual question part below the graph. So we added this missing information into the rubric. Now this is how you should write introduction. And moving to next, writing overview. So how to write an overview. Before that, let me explain what is overview means. Overview is all about writing key features. So key features usually represents the highest points or highest growth, highest change. The lowest one, the lowest of all in charts and graph, lowest growth, the least amount of people, and all low parts. And finally, the most insignificant information. So what's the most significant information? That's something which is applicable or which is suitable to say for entire charts. For example, if majority of countries, the majority of the data show growth, so that's the most significant information. Now move to how to write an overview. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions for you guys in order to check whether you understand it or not. Let's first display one example. Now this is The title says GDP growth in 3 countries, and it is as percentages. And as you can see, it is given in China, United States of America, and Japan. Now, let's have a look at 2 different types of overview written for you. That's the first one, and that's the second one. So you need to find which one is most correct one, first one or the second one. Okay, so that's a question for you. Just get prepared. Which overview is correct? I'm going to give you some time to think, and then I'll show you which is correct answer. You ready? Let's start. So, correct answer is the first one. Now have a look at next question. So this is different style of writing another. So this is another 2 overview, and you need to answer this question again. So which is correct? Let's get started. So the correct answer is second one. All right, I hope you understand, guys, how to write an overview. And if not, just keep following our channels. We will be showing more advanced way of how to write an overview. Now, let's move to the final part, which is describing the trend. What you will learn in this part. First, you need to learn vocabulary related to trend, language, and also grammar parts. So we will be focusing on all 3 parts. First, let's start with the vocabulary first. So there are vocabulary related to up, going upwards words, which are these, and then downward words, which are those, and also if it's up and down, which could be this as an example. So this, of course, not all of the information you need to learn. This is the just basic and introductory level of words. It's just a basic vocabulary. But if you need to learn furthermore, just keep following our channel. We will be showing you more detailed explanation, and you will have access to our classroom so that you can practice and learn certain vocabulary, which is in an advanced level. Now let's move on to next part. Language part. So in language, this is describe fluctuation, and that is a dip or to dip. So first, if you paid attention, what is this? Language is showing or describing the movement of the graph in a different way. So you may wonder why there is a noun, a dip, and a verb, to dip. The thing is, you can describe a similar situation in a noun version and in a verb version. And sometimes it could be phrases as well. Let's continue. Now that part is hit a pick or to peak. This is all like a different way of saying one thing. And then this is the opposite one. It's lowest point or to hit a low. And finally, that is could be used as a noun, a plateau, or you can also say to reach a plateau. Okay, I hope this is the general phrases you can use depending on certain movements in the trend. Let's continue. Now, this is the final component that you need to learn. So, in writing task 1, they're possible that you can describe one situation in a different way. The only thing is you need to change the forms, certain words, certain structure. Why we need to do this? Because in Ielts, there is a criteria known as grammar range. So what does it mean? Grammar range means writing different way, explaining same situation in different way. If you show this to examiner, it helps you to gain better marks. So now we will display same information in 3 different forms. Let's begin with the first one. So this is the subject. Number of people who joined the gym club. It's a whole sentence, but it is actually subject. Next is grew is a verb. Now that shows you the actual verb. After subject, it should be verb. And then comes an adverb, significantly, and finally comes the time in 2007. Now let's move different way. If you made attention, or if you notice, year comes first in this sentence. So there's another way of writing in 2007. And also, if you paid attention and noticed, there is a comma written, which is different than first sentence. So the rest is follow the same pattern, which is subject, verb, and adverb. And this is a bit of a small change, but let's have a look at the bigger change. Let's have a look at the third one. So time is not changed, but there is a big change here. Instead of subject, number of people who joined the gym club, we change it into there was. What's there was? You already know there is used to describe a certain situation if there is no subject. So in this case, there is no subject. Let's say you want to have describe something in your room. You want to say it contains, there is a chair, there is a book, there is a table. So there is used as a replacement for a subject here. And then comes next word. If you paid attention, the word significantly, as significant, is slightly different. And what is the big difference? It just significantly changed into the adjective form, which is a significant. Okay, and have a look next one. So the verb grew has changed into the grows. So if you paid attention to these two, what's the big difference? The big difference is in the second sentence, it shows verb plus adverb structure. And you could use the same structure and change it a bit and still make sense. It means you have to change it into noun and adjective form. So third sentence shows adjective, and then the verb grew has changed into noun form, which is growth. And finally, the last part represents an object. So as you can see, there are 3 main types of description is shown for you. So you have to try your best to write as much as possible in different wide variety of structure. This is just a beginning, so I just showed 3 different structure. But in later our webinars, I'm going to show you a more detailed way. So guys, I hope you understand something from this webinar, and here's the thing, what's next, what you could be the next thing you should do. So next thing is, if you understand, so there was one question actually given from one of our listeners. Can I watch this lesson? Of course you can watch this the lesson for sure, because it will be stored in our YouTube channel. You can watch anytime as much as you like. But here's what's next you should do. Let's say you understand something, what you should do. So we do have online classes, the classwork application. So keep following our PROFI education channel, so you will have an access our online classroom. So what's good about this? The good thing is you will have an access of like enormous amount of exercises, and it could be automatically checked. Second, you will have a bonus materials. What is bonus materials? I will include certain vocabulary that you need to learn, certain adjective noun forms, an extra material you will get for free if you join for our subscription service, where you can have a lot of exercise and check your service. And finally, we do have a feedback service. What is good about feedback? When you have any problem, any question, if you don't understand anything about the graph and charts or any Ielts related tutorials or webinars, and we can give you feedback. Not only that, we can also give you feedback on about your the exercises and any problems and difficulties you face during the preparation months. So guys, I hope you got valuable lessons, and that could be the end of our webinars. Please keep following our channels. I will be talking to you, and I will be talking to you guys. This is the entire beginner information about task 1. So in this webinar, I hope you get valuable information. Of course, this is just the beginning. It's just the introductory level. So if you have any question, you can pause this, or you can write it right away, and I can help you, assist you. Okay, but if you want to have a further practice, if you want to improve you need some feedback, please keep following our channel. We will have an access to support with exercises, with the feedback and bonus material in our entire series. So until the next time, please make sure there is a virus outside, stay at home, and it is the best opportunity for you to prepare for IELTS. Thank you very much, and see you next time.